My name is Professor Fahal. I am a professor of surgery at the University of Khartoum from the Mycetoma Research Center. I would like to talk about the research funding opportunities. I would like to declare there is no conflict of interest in this presentation. All photos were taken from open sources. This is the university staff, teachers who are very much busy in teaching undergraduate and postgraduate students. Few of us are very busy in doing administration activities. Some of us are doing some work at the level of the communities. Community initiative is important issues of the university activities. We are very much involved in social activities, and that has absorbed a lot of time of our work. Few of us are working on research and development initiative and activities. However, the four legs of the care should be equal, and that has been done before, and we have a very shiny examples of that. The late Professor Al-Hassan, Emeritus Professor of Pathology at the University of Khartoum, he was a good teacher. He was a good community initiative advocate. He took his work to the level of the field and the communities, supporting patients and communities. He was the first Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and he was involved in high-tech, cutting-edge research. Had more than 300 publications in highly reputable journals. Professor Hassan managed to collect all the possible awards and prizes at the level of the undergraduate and the postgraduates, both in Sudan and in the region and internationally. Professor Hassan managed to establish at the middle of nowhere an excellent center, that is Al-Hassan Center for Tropical Diseases, for research, patient care, education, training activities, and community initiative activities. No doubt, scientific research and innovation are the only way to improve the quality of the life in different parts of the world. Otherwise, without research activities, we will be always following others' activities and innovation, and that is not good for the progress of the nations and the communities. To conduct a good cutting-edge research, we need to have a very good training activities, programs. We need to have a good infrastructure to conduct that research. No doubt the environment should be very much conducive, safe, and enjoyable to conduct these activities. We should have a good collaboration with local, international collaborating bodies in research and innovation. More important, we should have the teamwork that can work together to conduct good research. All these activities need a good funding. And the good funding, it is an essential part of the activities of most of the scientific researchers and innovators. So, with these backgrounds, the objective of this presentation, it is to answer this question. Is it possible or not to have a good funding for our research? We hope at the end of this presentation we can answer this question. So, we would like to know in this presentation what is research funding, why it is important to get this funding, who can look and can get this funding for our research, and where, when, and then importantly, you should know how to get this funding for research. So, the aim of this session, it is to know how we can get our funding for our research. Funding for research, it is an activity that should be conducted with all research at the level of the universities and the institutes and centers for research. By research funding, I am talking about 2, 4, 5 million euros, pounds, and dollars to fund our research. We should think out of the box on how we can get this funding to support our research and institute and universities. I am sure Newton, if he's around nowadays, he will have a different ways and means to raise funds for his research and activities. The first step, we should be part of the research environment. And by saying research environment, I say that we should be equipped with an excellent CV, excellent communication between different bodies, locally, internationally. We should have an excellent consortium that can work together, and very important, we should have an excellent collaboration. Commitment is an important and critical issue in conducting good research. Hence, we remember the 5 C's: the CV, the communication, the consortium, the communication, the collaboration, and the commitment for our research. We should be part of the mailing list of this funding body. We should be in direct contact with these funding bodies all the time. We should receive emails from these funding bodies alerting us on the upcoming funding activities. We should be always available on the different research platforms. This is one of our young colleagues. She is having a page at the ResearchGate. We should always having a visibility at the Google Scholar, and even we should conduct more activities by having our own private and institutional website that we should tell us where we are and what we are doing on this. We should be again part of the very specific research groups. For example, the Mycetoma Global Working Group. This is a very specific group working in the area of mycetoma, and we should be part of this group if we are working on mycetoma or other skin entities or other tropical diseases. Remember, we should always be available on the different platforms of the research and funding bodies. Why it is important to get research funding? It is important because we can conduct a good research, excellent research, cutting-edge research, addressing an important issues in the community and for the humanity in general. Very important to get research to support our infrastructure, our departments, and the universities. We should get research to have support for the postgraduate, graduate, and undergraduate students to have training and to conduct their research. Very important to have this funding to improve our career, and important to have a lot of issues can be supported by this. There is a lot of activities can be conducted by this good research funding. Again, it is important to remember that good research needs good funding, and good funding needs a good proposal. And proposal, it is the key element in looking for research funding at this. As you know, proposal, it is a document developed, produced in response to a specific call. Proposal, actually, it is a roadmap for our research from the idea till execute the research until we publish our work on this. Research, it is simply an observation, and this observation needs a bright idea to explain this observation, And from there we start our activity. We start by having a consortium, and then we have to collaborate with these members of the consortium, and then we have to develop the proposal, and then we have to submit the proposal after having been studied properly by different members of the team and endorsed by the research grant office at the institute, and then we look forward for having interview, and we look forward for having a support and the fund from this. Remember, research is an observation and a bright idea, and this bright idea will be the starting point of the grant life cycle. And the grant life cycle starts, as I mentioned, by the idea coming from observation, and then start to having the collaboration, and then until we get the funding at the end of the day. I have to say, confusion is the first step towards clarity. It is not the lack of information, it is the way we put this information in the proposal, and then we send it for the funding bodies. To get fund for research is a tedious, a difficult process. But again, at the end of the day, we can get a lot of funding for research. Funding with 3-4 million euros or pounds for a single research activity. We should be very meticulous in understanding the requirement of the funding body. We should look forward for the detail of this funding instruction, and to follow this instruction actively and religiously. We have to remember the failure rate of this funding activity is very high. It may be up to 70%. But if we can get a fund from a single proposal, that will be a very good activity. We can conduct a good research, education of our young colleagues, infrastructure of our institute, and then publication in highly reputable journals. It is essential for any institute to have the grant funding office. This office is essential. It is critical for any institute to support researchers, to get the fund, and to support the proposal writing, and to approve and endorse this grant before we can send it to the funding body for review in view of getting funded. Remember, writing proposal, it is one of the duties of the university staff. And this staff should be always on the look for having grants, calls, writing proposals, and collaboration with different bodies to improve the quality of the life of people, to improve the infrastructure of our institutes, and to be able to support young researchers and students at our institutes. Research writing is an activity, tedious, difficult, and people need to know how we can write the proposal. That is why we always put in our CVs the grant we had in the past, and that can help the funding bodies to support our new proposals. We should look where we can find these funding bodies, and nowadays the internet is a lot of sites addressing this issue. There is more than 250 million sites I found while I'm preparing this presentation addressing the issue of the research funding. So it is there, but we need to know how we can tap these areas and how can get it. There are different types of fundings, scholarships, and support for research. We can have research for young researchers, for ladies, for science in Africa, and all these are opportunities for funding our research. How we can get it? There are many funding organizations. They are devoted to support us in conducting our research. For example, we can apply to research funding from the Medical Research Council in UK, Wellcome Trust Foundation. We can have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in the state. In the Arab, we have the Qatari funding body. So there is a lot of research bodies can support our research. For example, we have the GHED, and GHED, it is a very renowned organization in Japan. It is the Global Health Innovative Technology Fund. They can support research in tropical medicine activities. They started in 2013. They had donated for funding research in African countries and in tropical medicine specifically. I am proud to say that one of my colleagues' photo, it is available in the front page of this organization because they had supported the Mycetoma Research Center in conducting the first ever double-blind clinical trial on mycetoma. In the United Kingdom, we have the National Institute for Health Research. And again, this is a very big funding body in the UK. They support research in different parts of the globe with the British partners. Through this institute, we managed to have 7 PhD students finishing their PhD in Sudan and in UK. And again, it was a very highly respected research conducted from this. In the past, we have the Horizon 2020. This is created by the European Union to support research around the different parts of the globe. And this Horizon 2020 just finished, and they were very active in supporting research, in conducting workshops on how to apply and how to write proposal to apply for the Horizon 2020. There was even supporting researchers to conduct and to write appropriate proposals. Nowadays, they're having Horizon Europe, again supported by the European Union. They have a lot of fund for research in different aspects of science. So we need to apply for them. We have the Erasmus Plus, and again, this is part of the European Union activities. They support researchers to conduct their research, conduct their training, and we are proud that one of our students now, she is at the Imperial College, supported by the Erasmus Plus. Erasmus Plus, it is an opportunity for young researchers and students to enrich their activities, open their mind to have a better future in the future. Wellcome Trust Foundation in UK, this is one of the biggest funding body for research. Interesting to know that this institute or this foundation was established by the Henry Wellcome, the pharmacist from the United States, and then he moved from the United States to United Kingdom, and from there he came all the way to Sudan, and he established in 1903 the first ever tropical research center in the Sudan. And you can see how clean, neat the laboratory at that time. And in 1909, he managed to donate a floating lab. This lab used to go all the way from Khartoum to South Sudan, collecting data, collecting specimens, doing research, and a lot of activities. And that again was the start of the proper research in Sudan. In 1917, he moved to Central Sudan and he established a lab on top of the hills there, and that is Jabal Moya Lab for Research. In 1914, in Sudan, we have a mobile microbiology lab, and that lab used to go and collect samples, testing samples, and then to have a result of the research done that time. The health institutes in the state had a lot of collaboration with Sudan since the 1950s, and they had conducted many research activities in areas where endemic diseases were there. They conducted the first ever research in the yellow fever in Sudan.
In front of the laboratory, equipment is loaded onto a jeep. It is loaned by the U.S. Map Service. They are busy mapping the continent of Africa from Cape to Cairo in preparation for the first space flight around the world. Wherever the British arrived, they developed the railway network, and such was the case for Sudan. Khartoum became the hub and a transport point to the Red Sea and Port Sudan. Two other spurs went respectively north to Darfur and south to Kordofan and El Obeid. All heavy material must be hoisted on a flatbed. This Electrolux refrigerator is operated with kerosene and will be indispensable for storage of field-collected specimens. The microbiology department involved in tropical disease research has utilized the railroad system for transporting a laboratory car to various parts of Sudan. Personal effects and more fragile equipment are loaded in this car, which will be pooled at the end of the railway. The tarpaulin will provide shelter when specimens are being brought from.
In the state, we have Bill and Melinda Foundation. They supporting research in different parts of the globe, specifically under developing countries, and African continent is one of the areas for their activities. They have supported malaria program in different areas, and they are supporting them by giving a lot of money for research. Japan Agency for Medical Research and Development, EMED, again, this is a governmental organization in Japan. They are supporting research between different institutes in Japan and overseas. We have the African Postgraduate Training Initiative. They are supporting research from African continent to spend more than 3 years in the United States to finish their postgraduate studies and to finish their unfinished research from their PhD. And again, this is a collaboration between African Academy of Science, Bill Gates Foundation, and the National Institutes of Research in the state. The African Academy of Science in Kenya and Nairobi, again, they are trying to find research funding for African researchers. And again, they are doing a lot of work on this. A lot of bodies working in the African continent to get funding for research. One of them, it is the core entities. Core entities are working in the area of neglected tropical diseases and trying to find funding for research to do work in these neglected tropical diseases. We have the EDCTP, European Development Clinical Trial Partnership, and again, this organization, they are providing many funding for research in the area of clinical trial, specifically neglected tropical disease. WHO, through its TDR, Tropical Disease Research Supporting Body, they are supporting young researchers in the African and tropical areas on conducting research in tropical diseases. I have to say that many embassies in different countries, they have research funding. They have funding to conduct research and to support postgraduate students to conduct their research and to have their PhD and degrees conducted. One of them, it is the French Embassy in Sudan. They had a program called NAPTA in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and Scientific Research. These funding activities, actually, it is a mobility program to make contact between researchers in France and Sudan, and then they can meet to form ideas, then form a collaboration, and then they have to write a proposal to different funding bodies. The Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Sudan, again, they are supporting a lot of activities and research. They're supporting research consortium, infrastructure for the labs and the field activities. They're supporting centers of excellence, scholarships for graduate and postgraduate students, young researchers, young innovators, and entrepreneurship. And all these are activities supporting the research to be conducted in Sudan and overseas. In 2023, the Ministry of Higher Education in Sudan has donated 1 billion Sudanese pound to support the research activities and institutes. The ministry used to support these institutes and centers by providing awards, scholarships, and activities to promote research in the country. Again, we should be on the alert that to look for these funding bodies and always to have contact with them to know when and where they're going to announce for their funding activities. One of an important areas through which we can get funding, it is a collaboration with international bodies. And we have the CDC Atlanta, Georgia. Again, there's a lot of collaboration between this institute and different research bodies around the globe. They have what is known as the CDC funding organization, an NGO trying to support the research. In Holland, we have the Erasmus Medical Center, and through these activities with this center, we have more than 5 PhD students. They finish their PhD in Erasmus Medical Center. We have the Center for Fungal Research in Utrecht, and again, this is a very renowned center for fungal research activities. We had a collaboration with Newcastle University, Brighton and Sussex Medical School in Brighton, and all these where collaboration took place and ended in a good research result and training for our young colleagues. The DNDi, Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative. This is a very unique international body based in Geneva. They have branches in Africa, America, Japan, Asia, and South America. They are supporting research to develop new drugs to help neglected patients in neglected areas with neglected diseases to have treatment. They supported the first ever double-blind clinical trial to have a new drug for Mycetoma patient at the Mycetoma Research Center. It was an opportunity for conducting research, for improving the infrastructure, and opportunity for training of young colleagues in different research activities. The UNESCO supporting women in science by providing laureate prize for the best student in Africa. And through this, one of our young colleagues had the prize, and she managed to finish her PhD in France in using artificial intelligence to diagnose mycetoma from histopathological slides. Small grants programs are available. One of them, the Royal Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene in UK. They are providing a lot of small grants for students in tropical medicine and hygiene. We have the Federation of Arab Scientific Research Councils, and again they are providing research for conducting research through ARICA and providing awards, prizes, support for best researchers, best institutes, and best innovation activities. At the Mycetoma Research Center in Khartoum, we are providing a scholarship for colleagues, researchers, to be trained in the diagnosis and the management of mycetoma, which is one of the badly neglected tropical diseases. We have the TCAT, that is the Tokyo International Conference for African development. And again, this conference provide a communication between researchers, provide awards and prizes for the best researcher in the continent of Africa. The Japan government is providing research support for different African countries to conduct research in the local endemic problems. Again, now the Chinese government again is supporting a lot of research in Africa, trying to support the researchers and institute to conduct high-tech, cutting-edge research. Nowadays, the World Bank is working on funding for scientific centers and institutes. Had provided support for 44 centers of excellence in West and Central Africa. Through this support, they managed to support research, infrastructure, training of undergraduate and postgraduate students to finish their degrees. These are some of the centers benefit of this grant of the World Bank. As I mentioned, many embassies now trying to support research. And this is the American Embassy in Khartoum that are trying to find centers of excellence to be supported. And this is Dr. Dallas Smith. He is a research science at the Mycetoma Center, supported by the American Embassy in Sudan. A unique opportunity is to collaborate with the industry through the private-public partnership. And again, this partnership is important and essential nowadays to make science outcome available at the industry level. A problem at the industry, they contact the university talking about this problem, and then the university support a research activities to get a solution for this. It is a win-win situation. PhD students can get funded for their research, and the industry can have a solution for the problem they are facing in their work. Again, a personal communication is an important means and ways to get funding of our young colleagues. This is one of our colleagues now having her master's degree at Nagasaki University through a personal communication. And another young colleague, now she's having her master's degree at Basel University in Switzerland. There is a lot of research opportunities. This is a research development fellowship, and many institutes, funding bodies, hospitals, institutes, providing research opportunities and activities, especially for female and young ladies. How can we get this? There is a lot of logistic steps we should follow, and we should then get our funding. We start looking for the fund call, and then after that we start the process of communicating with other colleagues, and then to form a collaboration consortium. And then you have to write a good proposal, and then we revise this proposal to be endorsed by the grant office at our universities and institutes and centers. We should conduct a lot of meetings, ideas exchange, even you can go and travel. First step, we should look where is the funding available and where is the call coming, when and how we can apply. We should start doing a lot of communication between our colleagues in different parts so we can start to formulate our consortium. And then during the consortium meeting, we should write the good proposal, and the proposal should be again revised and revised again. It is a tedious process to write a good proposal. From the pre-writing, the drafting, the revision, and then editing, and then submitting this proposal. It is an exercise, and we need to know how we can conduct this exercise. There is a lot of meeting to be conducted nowadays online, or even you can travel for these meetings and discussion and proposal writing. We should have a good international collaboration to start these activities. Ladies and gentlemen, there is some take-home messages I would like to share with you. First, we should be part of the research environment. Remember the 5 C's: excellent CV, excellent communication, excellent consortium, excellent collaboration, and it should have an excellent commitment for our research. We should be prepared for this course. We should be prepared with a good, properly formed written proposal. We should not rush to submit proposal that can be rejected easily. And then, very important, remember that it is a training process. Writing proposal, submitting a proposal to funding body, it is an exercise that needs a good training. Again, training to have a good ideas. This training, it is difficult, it is tedious, but eventually you can get good funding for our research infrastructure. We should not be disheartened with the high rate of rejection. It is part of the game to get a good funding for our research. Very important to say, it is a competition and we should be prepared for this competition. We should not be disheartened by saying it is not possible. There is nothing called impossible. There is always things possible to be done and to be achieved. Impossible should not be part of our word we are using it. Very important to remember, it is possible. And this is an example. Professor Stephen Hawking, he was a professor of physics at Cambridge University, had all the medical problems. Eventually ended in a quadriplegia. And in spite of that, he had a very alert brain, very bright ideas. He managed to do a lot of breakthrough in the area of physics. And he always saying that however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and you can succeed at. So let us know that there is nothing called impossible. Everything is possible under the sun, and you should work together and should do the exercise to get these things. Importantly, we should remember that it is a teamwork, the research activities. Any endeavor in research should be a teamwork and you can work together on this. We should never waste time, resources in this. Always, the sky is the limit for our work and research. We should aim high for high awards and prizes, and we should always support our young colleagues by providing research grants and support for them. We should always be part of the research environment. We always should think of how we can get research for our research. I'm going to conclude by saying that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, as mentioned and said by Winston Churchill. Remember, nothing is impossible under the sun, and should work together to achieve that. I would like to answer the question, is it possible or not to find a possible donors for our research? Indeed, it is possible to get a good funding, decent funding, to conduct a decent research and activities. And I would like to say that let us wake up, work together, and to smell the coffee for a better future of our research and institutes and humanity at the end of the day. And thank you very much for your kind attention. And here is my contact email, and the website. Thank you very much.